Hey, what's up, my friends? Jason Woodland here, rocking and rolling here with Always the Journey TV. We are moving right along with episode number 36. We have been doing this for just over a month now, and it's moving right along. We're talking to all kinds of unbelievable people out here in the community. Again, the sole objective of Always the Journey TV is to spotlight people in the community, to learn more about what they're doing for their work, their businesses, their job, their artwork, their side hustles, their event spaces, and everything in between. The main thing is I want to talk to people that have passion about what they do. So thank you very much for joining us. I sincerely appreciate you dedicating your time. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and throw us a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. Today's small business shout out is Morisco's Ensenada. They're located at 4855 South Redwood Road. That would be in the Taylorsville area. So go and check those guys out. Today, I'm really excited about introducing a very good friend, Justin Pratt. We've known each other for a handful of years now, and this guy is extremely well-versed in everything that he does, and he's got a lot of passion for what he does for helping people. Justin grew up in a small town of Grants Pass, Oregon. He spent his childhood riding his bike, exploring the woods, skateboarding, and disc golfing. He has fond memories of spending time on the river where he and his friends would jump from a 60-foot high suspension bridge to the river below. That sounds wild. Love it, though. Justin attended undergrad at BYU-Idaho, where he met Jenni, his wife of 14 years. He then attended law school at Texas Tech University, where his love for estate planning developed. During law school, Justin was a mediator at the mediation clinic where he mediated a variety of cases, including theft, family disputes, juvenile law, landlord-tenant, and contract disputes. His background with the mediation process has taught Justin to generate creative solutions for his clients. In his law practice, Justin focuses on two areas of practice: estate planning and criminal defense, particularly DUI and drug offenses. When he's not being a lawyer, he enjoys reading, riding his dirt bike, going to concerts, and working on projects with his children, such as building a treehouse. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce my good friend, Justin Pratt. What's up, my man?
Hey, Jason. Good to see you.
Hey, you too, dude. It's a beautiful day.
It is.
All right. So what's going on, man? You having a good day so far?
Oh, yeah. Yep, sun's shining. In the office, working hard. So, yeah, great day.
Nice, man. Yeah, I just ran my garbage out to the curb and was hoping not to be too out of breath, but I think I'm good.
Good.
Awesome. Hey, so I want to learn, thankfully I've had the ability to learn all about your business throughout the years. And of course, on the estate planning side, I do a lot of that kind of stuff. Well, I don't do the estate planning, but I work with a lot of people who are needing estate plans within my own business. But for my viewers, I want them to have a more granular understanding of what exactly does that even mean. But first of all, I want to learn what inspired you to get involved in estate planning all to begin with. What does that process look like?
Yeah. Well, I'll go back a little bit farther than just the estate planning to even getting into the law and whatnot. Right after my time in undergrad, I wanted to be a marriage and family therapist. And I kind of got there by working at an organization called the Anasazi Foundation. I don't know if you heard of them, but they're based out of Mesa, Arizona. They do, it's a wilderness therapy or behavioral health organization where they will take kids, well, even adults, but their focus is mostly on kids out in the wilderness. And it's a pretty amazing experience. And so I worked for them. We'd work with people, like I said, mostly kids, and they were out there for 6 weeks at a time, just out in the wilderness camping. They would cook all their own food. They'd have to be able to start fires on their own with bow and spindle, and just builds a lot of confidence in the kids, helps them learn how to take care of themselves. And so I was working there and thinking, this is great. I love this. I want to be a marriage and family therapist, because they would have therapists come out and meet with the kids periodically, and I thought this is amazing. And so that was my goal right after undergrad. So I got a job at the Idaho Youth Ranch, Harbor House in Idaho Falls, working with it's a drug rehab for kids, juveniles, sometimes ordered there by the courts, oftentimes ordered there by the courts. And I was teaching classes, talking to them, reporting about them. We were doing treatment plans and whatnot. And I realized after a year and a half of doing that, or a year about of doing that, I thought, you know what, this is actually not what I want to do.
Oh, interesting.
I want to help people in a more logical manner. And so that's when I thought, you know what, I think law school is the way to go.
Interesting.
So I applied to law school, went to law school. I didn't have, estate planning wasn't really on my mind at that point. But in law school, we had to take a wills and trust class. And I just ate it up, loved it. Something about it was just really attractive to me and made sense to me, understood it, and thought, yeah, this is what I'd like to be doing.
Interesting. So, I mean, that's a pretty cool background, being able to help children in all kinds of, their situations growing up. And then you decide to go to law school, and then you take an estate class, and something there just really just sparked joy, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
As Marie Kondo would say.
Yep. I did not throw out the estate planning. I stuck with it.
That's awesome. What do you think it was exactly that sparked that joy when you entered the estate class? I mean, what was it, do you think?
You know, I've thought about that, and it's hard for me to really explain, but an analogy I use is like baking. And you don't bake much, do you, Jason?
Nope.
Okay. Well,
I buy baked goods a lot.
What's that?
I buy a lot of baked goods, though.
Okay. Well, this may speak to somebody else better, but somewhat like baking. I do a lot of baking, and I've worked hard on my chocolate chip cookie recipe.
Okay.
I'm speaking to you now?
Oh yeah, big time.
And so probably a couple years ago, I went through a whole process and had a big spreadsheet about the ingredients I'm using and how much of each I'm using. And I did, different combinations of white sugar versus brown sugar, experimented with browned butter, different kinds of flour, different proportions, butter versus margarine, baking them right after making them versus freezing them or cooling the dough off, letting it sit overnight. I kept track of, the results, the color, the rise, the texture, how they looked as far as, cracks or solid, things like that, all kinds of things. So I kind of changed the ingredients, messed with them, modified them to get the cookie that I wanted, right? Similar to that, like when I'm sitting down with somebody talking to them about an estate plan, we got to figure out what they want, and what they want to accomplish. And then I can do all the experimentation. It's not really experimentation in this setting, but we can figure out what exactly we need to do to incorporate, life insurance or retirement plans, things like that, to get them to the spot where they're saying, yeah, that's the result I want. And so the same satisfaction I get out of, baking and doing that experimentation to get the cookie I want.
Nice.
I feel like I can do that for people with an estate plan. So we can kind of work backwards and, say, hey, where do you want to end up? Okay, here's what we need to do.
I like that. You know how I know that we're such great friends?
How?
We're both chocolate chip connoisseurs, chocolate chip cookie connoisseurs. We both have the same haircuts, and we both wear blue check dress shirts. Oh, that's awesome, man.
Nice.
So regarding Corpus LLC, that's your business that specializes in estate planning. Tell us more specifically about the business. Tell us more. Explain estate planning, playing like I'm a 8-year-old kid, because not all people that are going to be watching this really understand what does an estate plan do, who does the estate plan work for, et cetera. So tell us more about your business, please.
Okay. Yeah. Estate planning, the sound of estate planning can be daunting. It sounds like a really big process and turns some people off. They shy away from that. But estate planning is simply getting things in order so that when you pass away, you know what's going to happen to, number one, your property. And it also deals with leading up to somebody dying or somebody being incapacitated. It helps them choose what's going to happen rather than leaving it up to somebody else. That's kind of the broad definition or explanation of what an estate plan is. So making your own decisions about end of life circumstances versus somebody else making those decisions.
Okay, cool. So then as far as the estate plan goes, can you explain in more detail what all is encompassed within an estate, within your normal estate plan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so normally we're focusing on about 5 things: wills, trusts, designation of guardian, advanced healthcare directive, and power of attorney. Okay, so those are the things that we're going to focus on. It sounds like a lot, but when we get down to it, it's not as complicated as it sounds. So wills deal with somebody's property after they've passed away.
And when you're saying property, you're not talking just real estate. You're talking anything: cars, watches, jewelry, coin, all the stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so there's real property, which is real estate, home and the land. Mm-hmm. There's personal property, which is like vehicles, like the things that you just mentioned, right? And so it deals with all of that. Okay, so that's a will. A trust is almost like a separate entity. You can kind of think of it as operating separately like a business, but there are different types of trusts. And so it doesn't actually have to operate like a business, but you can think of it as being a separate entity. But a trust is it's a device where you can have property owned by a trust. And so it's not owned by you personally anymore. It's owned by a trust, and the trustee manages the property in the trust. So as far as transferring property once somebody passes away, that is a really simple way to transfer property, because it actually doesn't transfer, just the management changes. So for example, if I have a trust, all my property's in the trust, I can be the trustee while I'm alive, and then I designate a backup trustee or a survivor trustee, such as my wife or my child, to manage the property once I pass away. And so the property remains in the trust, and it can be, it's not actually transferred. A trust also allows you to designate what you want to happen with your property in the future. It's not necessarily like a will where it's just divided once and done. Mm-hmm. A trust allows you to continue making decisions about how the property is continued to be used. So you can say, look, I have some money in this account that belongs to the trust, and trustee, this is how you're supposed to use it. I want you to use it for my grandchildren to play sports or take dance lessons or pay for education. That's how this money needs to be used. It can't be used for anything else. So the fun way to say that is it's a way for you to reach from the grave and still control your money.
Exactly.
Property. So that's a trust. And oftentimes what we will do with will and a trust is, in the will, we'll leave everything to the trust. And so we can get more comprehensive in the trust about what's going to happen. Trusts are private, wills are public. And so it's a private way to deal with your property and manage your affairs and take care of your family. So that's wills, trusts, designation of guardian. One important key decision to make nearing the end of your life is who is going to make medical decisions for you, or make decisions about where you're going to live if you're unable to make those decisions. That's what we do with the designation of guardian. An advanced healthcare directive is similar. It allows you to designate a healthcare agent to make decisions for you. And it's a little bit of a stopgap because a court needs to appoint a guardian. But if you do an advanced healthcare directive, then your medical provider can rely on that to figure out who should be making healthcare decisions for you.
Okay. Great.
So in the meantime, before a guardian could be appointed, then they can rely on that. So an advanced healthcare directive is important. It also allows you to not just appoint an agent to make decisions, but it allows you to lay out some decisions that you want to make.
Mm-hmm.
Like whether you want to have life-sustaining care, whether you want to participate in healthcare trials, things like that. So you're able to make lots of decisions and give specific instructions about what kind of medical care you want to receive if you're not able to make the decision.
Right.
And then power of attorney. That allows somebody else to make decisions about your property during your life. So if you ever do become incapacitated and you're unable to manage property, access bank accounts, pay bills, somebody else has that document that says, I can act on their behalf. And I can take money from their bank account, pay the mortgage, pay the utilities, and make decisions in that regard so that you're not left in a risky situation in that regard. So those are the 5 main things that we focus on I recommend that everybody who's preparing an estate plan, I recommend that everybody has those.
Perfect. So then my next question is, what is there such thing as something that is too small of sort of a net worth type of client that would need something like that? And obviously there's no maximum. I already know that. I mean, you could be worth, and in fact, the higher net worth, you should indefinitely, I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, have this in place. But what would you say is maybe someone who wouldn't need to worry as much about having an estate plan?
Generally, my general threshold is if you don't have any real property, right? So
And define real property again for the viewers.
Yep. If you don't own a home or real estate, and probably under $50,000 in your net worth, right? So above that, I would say definitely talk to me, depending on what your goals are. Like I'll talk to people and they'll tell me what their goals are, and sometimes I say, look, I don't think that you need to go into all the effort and incur any expense for an estate plan. There is something called a small estate affidavit that the courts will accept to probate a small estate if the estate value is under $100,000 and there's no real property involved, so no real estate involved. Then the courts will not necessarily need to go through a whole process to probate the estate. Somebody can manage that property pretty simply. However, if somebody does have even like retirement accounts or bank accounts, the close to $50,000, or insurance for funeral insurance or things like that, sometimes it's easier to just put everything, even in a simple estate plan, just lay out everything in a will, so that somebody knows where everything is. They, can find the information about the burial plot, wishes on how, the body should be taken care of, whether buried or cremated. The insurance policy to cover any funeral costs, things like that. So sometimes that can be helpful, but it really, under $50,000 and no real property, not necessary, but I'm still happy to have a conversation with somebody to see what they want to accomplish, what they're worried about, and see if there's anything that needs to be done to take care of that.
Nice. Would you also maybe say it could be prudent for someone who might currently have a net worth of under 50,000, but is currently building and growing maybe a business or their job, and they're collecting assets, maybe to start an estate plan and then amend it as they continue to grow in net worth? Would you find that to be a prudent strategy?
Absolutely. Yep. Because planning for the future, right, is the point of the estate plan. And so if the plan is to have it an estate worth a greater value, then definitely. And that's just dealing with property. right? Because the other aspect of estate planning is making those decisions about key people who will be making decisions for you if you become incapacitated. You're going to want to designate a guardian. You're going to want to do an advanced healthcare directive. Think about how you want to be taken care of toward the end of your life. And you're still going to have bills to pay, even though if your estate plan is, or if your estate is lower value. You probably want somebody to have power of attorney in case you become incapacitated, and they can pay your bills for you. And make sure that when you become capacitated again, you have the capacity to make decisions. Then you haven't lost your apartment or your house or whatever for failure to pay the bills.
Yeah, very good point there. So Justin, tell us now a little bit more about what geographic locations do you cover with this business?
All of Utah. I'm licensed as an attorney only in Utah, but that means all of Utah.
Great. So everything from Logan to St. George, Tooele to Park City and beyond.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Perfect. And do you have the ability to do your work via Zoom or some other kind of platform like this, or do you have a hybrid model where you can meet in person during this time? Can you do this kind of work on Zoom and do it all remote? What does that look like?
Yes, I certainly can meet in person during this time. I have met with people. We sanitize, we mask up. So yeah, definitely in person, and I'm happy to do it via Zoom as well.
Okay.
Do that. And one thing before we move on too far, I do want to mention probate as well.
Yeah, definitely mention that.
That's kind of the back end of the estate plan. Hopefully the estate plan avoids probate. But probate is the process of the court reviewing the estate of a person who's deceased and a little bit of oversight in what happens with the property, making sure the property is divided up correctly according to statute, rather than, well, and even according to will, if they have a will, and just making sure that there's no problems with that. And I do probate as well, and oftentimes that takes place when there's not an estate plan. Sometimes when there is, but usually most estate plans will avoid the probate process.
And you definitely want to avoid the probate process any way you possibly can.
Yes. Yeah. It's like I said before, like even probating a will, it's public. So one reason to avoid this probate process is for privacy, right? Another reason is that it can get messy. If people are challenging, claiming that there was a gift given beforehand or something like that, or, mom or dad said I could have this, or there can be all kinds of disputes, and it's much easier to take care of it in a plan rather than letting the courts deal with it. And also, it's not a fun process, right? Like when somebody has a parent die, they're dealing with funeral, they're grieving, there's a lot going on. They're trying to, still work, keep their job, take care of their family. That's just a hard process. And to add one more thing, to it, probate, it's not fun.
Yeah, exactly. How long would you say the average probate would normally last? Is there an average, or does it depend on the size of the estate?
There is an average. Most estate probate cases can be wrapped up in 3 months. And I pride myself on doing a probate pretty quickly, as long as it's uncontested. And what I mean by that is if nobody's arguing or contesting who should be appointed personal representative. Okay, so usually a child of if their parents pass away, a child says, look, I'll be the personal representative, which means sometimes they're called the executor of the estate. I'll be the personal representative, and I'll kind of figure out where all this property is, gather it together, and then figure out how to distribute it. And so if nobody's contesting who the personal representative is going to be, we can get that taken care of pretty quickly. Sometimes within a week, sometimes a couple days, just depending on how responsive people are.
Yeah.
But then we have to give notice to creditors. We publish notice in the local papers. And we have to give them 3 months to make any claims on the estate. So that's generally what takes the longest, is the 3-month waiting period before we can close the probate case.
Interesting. Okay, so guaranteed a probate's going to be 3 months just because of that part by itself, even if the probate itself took 4 days.
Yep.
Okay, that's very good to know, because if your average probate is 3 months, that actually means 6 months. Then is that right?
Oh, sorry. Like average 3 months. Some can go longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Generally, they're going to be done within 3 months. But
okay.
Really, they're not going to go to 6 months unless there is maybe some litigation on a debt. If a creditor's saying, "Hey, you owe me this money," and we're contesting that, saying, "No, we don't actually owe you this money for whatever reason," right? Then there could be some litigation on that.
Okay.
And so it can go longer, but most are going to be handled within 3 months.
Okay, cool.
You go beyond that.
So, taking a look now, I mean, we've sort of touched on this already, but to define it a little bit more, who does your perfect client look like? So if someone were to watch this interview and they said, gosh, you know what, I fit this situation and this is what I'm in need of, who is that client? Who makes the good referral for you?
Mm-hmm. It doesn't sound right to say everybody, right? Here's the thing. A good friend of mine, Mark Holland, always reminds me that everybody has an estate plan already. Everybody already has one. And if it's not written down, it's probably a terrible estate plan. Because the state's going to decide what happens to you. They've already written it. And so if you don't have an estate plan, it's going to be according to statutes, and a judge is going to be making decisions for you. They don't know you. Judges would rather have you written it down, would rather have had you written it down, and everybody involved would rather have you written it down. So I say, everybody needs an estate plan better than what the state's providing. Yeah. But most people in their 60s and 70s are starting to think, I need to get this done sooner rather than later. Everybody, even in their 30s, 40s, they're thinking, I need to get it done. But, later in life, the end of life becomes a reality. They have friends start to pass away. They're starting to have medical issues, and they're wanting somebody to be able to make those decisions for them, make decisions for themselves before the decision has to be made. So those people in that age group are primed to be doing that, to be doing an estate plan. Okay. That demographic, is where most of my clients come from.
Okay, but it's definitely not cutting out the younger demographic by any means.
No. So those, I think you asked, who makes a good referral for me, and that's what I would say. But as far as who needs an estate plan, probably that demographic, but maybe even more so young families with children, minor children. Because if something happens to both parents, if they go on a trip, something happens, they get, even like mild circumstances, if they get stuck out of the country, outside the country, right, for a period of time, which did happen earlier.
Happened a lot this year.
Yeah. Right. And the kids are at home, mm-hmm. right, and they've left them with somebody.
Yep.
What happens if there's a medical emergency with the child? If school starts, if they're doing a last trip in the summer and school starts and they're trying to drop kids off at school and then pick kids up from school and they're not the parent, sometimes that can cause problems, right? So having an estate plan saying, this person could be the guardian if I'm not able to act on behalf of my child. That stuff like that is important. But worst case scenario, if something happens to the parents and they pass away, there's an accident or something. Yeah. Right. Then, having things in place, letting the family know who's going to take care of the kids, nominating a guardian for the minors so the court knows who should be taking care of the kids. All of that, very important, very important. Having life insurance, designating how that's going to be taken or how that's going to be used for education. Like I said, recreation, basic needs, things like that. Having all of that in place is probably more important for young families with minor children.
Yeah, exactly. Very good points here. So if someone decided that they wanted to talk with you, do you provide some kind of a sort of a free sort of sit down in the very beginning to get an idea of what that person is in need of before you start work? Sort of like a free consultation. Tell me more about how you work there.
Absolutely. Yeah, if somebody calls me, contacts me, generally I'll chat with them as long as we need to figure out if they need an estate plan or if they want one. And then I'll also send them a questionnaire. If we talk and they say, this is what I want to accomplish, I'm not sure, I'll also send them a questionnaire that helps them gather and ask them questions about what they want to accomplish, what assets they have, what accounts they have, like retirement accounts, life insurance accounts. It kind of helps them gather everything that they need, all the information they need to think through what they want to do with those things. And so I can email that to them. They can go through it. And I generally tell people, like, you may get hung up on some of those questions, and that's okay. If you don't know how to answer them, just skip it. That's what I'm here for. We can talk through those, figure out, what are good ideas for you to do. And so I'll have a conversation with people. I'll send them a questionnaire and have a follow-up conversation with them to talk to them about what their goals are and how we can accomplish that. And no charge for that. Just contact me and we can talk through it.
Okay, cool. So if someone felt like they sort of jive with your personality and they wanted to learn a little bit more about you and maybe how this estate planning process works, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
Call me. You can call, text, or email. Yep. You can call or text that number and email me at that email address.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, awesome. And then, of course, being that they're recording this, my disclaimer is, make sure that when talking to attorneys, to do your own research and make sure that whoever you're working with is going to fit what you need the most. But I do love Justin. He's a stand-up guy, and I know he's an honest individual. But like I mentioned, do your due diligence on who you feel is going to be the best person for you in your estate planning. But Justin, as we move into a wrap up, I like to ask, what is one of your favorite songs, favorite quotes, or both, please?
Okay. I gotta say, I love, like, a couple bands. You said up front that I like going to concerts. Mm-hmm. Two of the best concerts I've ever been to, Muse and Fun. Great bands, great concerts. Muse is the big production. I went to the Jazz Arena. My wife bought me tickets in 2018 for Christmas or something, and we went there. Just amazing concert, great show. And I love their song Uprising, kind of the classic Muse song.
Nice.
One of my favorites. And then Fun does a great concert, really interactive, not the huge show like Muse does, but really interactive. You get a lot of personality from them and stuff like that. Although I don't think they're around anymore. Nate Roos kind of went independent, so he was the lead singer for Fun. But love those guys.
Nice.
Let's see, quote. Let's see. One of my favorite quotes here. I'll just read it to you.
Yeah, please.
Success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to become the best of which you are capable. John Wooden.
I love that.
Great. I've always thought success is peace of mind, and I came across this quote. And like that, yeah, love it.
Nice. That is awesome. So just a fun piece of a tidbit about you. So you love riding motorcycles. You
Mhm.
told me about this experience that you were riding on this, totally empty road down in Texas, and then you got your motorcycle up to some exorbitant speed. How fast was that again? Like, what was the fastest you've ever been?
I want to say it was 156.
156 on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to feel like light speed.
It does. Everything gets blurry. You have to look really far ahead. This was many years ago. I'm not disclosing the date or the exact location. But yeah, I was on my way home from law school, and there's kind of a unique road down in Texas that lets you see for a long time and know that nobody else is getting on or coming off. And it's got walls. And so, I could tell nobody was around. And it was probably like 2 o'clock in the morning or something on my way home from law school. Just opened it up.
Man, that is
fast.
Awesome.
I got home, got off my motorcycle, and I told myself, I'm going to sell that thing, and I'm not buying another one until I live near a racetrack. And I've never gotten another one. So.
Wow. So, I mean, it was that exhilarating, but it was also like life-changing, as in, wow, that speed would have straight up killed me if I would have defaulted in some way.
Yep. Yeah, and the thing about Texas is that it's so flat that they don't have to build the roads around anything. So they just build flat, straight roads. And so there's no corners to push the limits on, no excitement really going around corners. So on a bullet bike, all you can do is go faster. So that's what I did. And I hit the limit, and I said, this thing's gone.
Cool, man. I just thought that was sort of a fun story, and I just thought it'd be fun to sort of share that piece out there about you. So Cool, man. Well, Justin, I sincerely appreciate you dedicating your time to be on Always the Journey TV today. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all the kind things you said about me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, my man. Well, I'm going to have you hang tight and just for a moment in the green room while I wrap up the show. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, great. Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks so much, Jason.
You're very welcome. Just one moment. Boom. So there you have it. Justin Pratt. He specializes in estate planning. Like I said, he is a stand-up guy, ultra honest in his work. As a disclaimer from being in the financial industry, I do have to say that do your own research. Make sure you find someone who makes the most sense for your personality type and what your personal needs are within your estate. But I do love this guy. He's, like I said, a really good man. So anyway, thank you so much for plugging into Always the Journey TV. Please subscribe to the channel. Throw us a thumbs up on the content if you enjoyed it. And if you've got any questions, feel free to throw those down in the question in the section underneath. If it's something I can answer, I will do so. If it's something that's more specific to the legal questions, I'll have Justin jump on and answer those for you. But anyway, Always the Journey TV in effect. We're rocking and rolling. This is New Year week. So let's enter 2021 with a bang. I wish you all most health and love and positivity into your new year. And thank you very much for joining us. Take care.